Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today we're going to touch base on a topic that is not frequently talked about, specifically hook sets. And the reason I want to talk about this is because earlier, I was scrolling through Instagram and came across a reel where an angler put together this cool collaboration of his hook sets. He took hook set after hook set after hook set and basically lined it up with music and showed how his hook sets are so powerful that fish are flying out of the water and all this stuff. And it's just this cool thing that you're a hard setting, hook setting fool. And the reality is, he was a slackliner. This is what I call a slackliner. And I got to tell you, there's a reason that angler, I'll guarantee you without a doubt, is missing fish, breaking fish off, and breaking rods. And it's because he's a slack line hook setter, guys. There are two types of hook sets. You've got a slack line and you've got a tight line. And I'm going to tell you, the majority of the time, if you're a slack line hook setter, you're making a major mistake. Now, just to kind of break the two down and let you know what the difference is. Slackline hook setter is somebody who is setting the hook without a tight line, meaning they don't have connection to the fish, a tight line to the fish. They've actually, a lot of times, what they'll do is they'll pull back on it, feel the fish, and then they drop their rod tip down so you get a bow and slack line, and then they hit them as hard as they can, and they're creating like a slingshot type effect. That is not what you want to do. Tight line hook sets are the opposite. Tight line is basically where you reel down to the fish and you just pull into them. You're not just trying to snap the rod as hard as you can. You're really reeling down and you're just pulling tight into them. There's two main differences here. If you're a slackline hook setter, a couple of things you have to recognize. One, depending on the bait that you're using, if it's some form of got a jig head design or a bigger lead head, so it could be a jig, it could be a swim bait, it could be, a Texas rig, any of those baits, you're going to run into a lot of issues because the harder you set the hook, the bigger that explosion is. Your bait is moving out of that fish's mouth faster. And because you really hit them hard, that mouth is actually blowing open wider and your bait's moving moving faster, which means you're going to miss a lot of hook sets. That's a huge mistake flippers make. It's one of the reasons why when you watch some of the best flippers out there that are, say, flipping mats or, they're flipping heavy line, braided line, big weights, they're not hammering it hard because a big 1.5 ounce weight blows that fish's mouth open way wide. And when that happens, if you're setting really hard, your bait is following behind it real fast. What you really want to do in that instance is pull into them, because what happens is that weight will open the mouth out, come out, but the lips are still closing around that weight. So when the weight passes, your hook penetrates into one of the fish's into one of the areas within the mouth. So that's the reason you don't want to do it. But not only is it from a hook setting perspective, if you are slack lining it, you are running the risk of really breaking your line anywhere you've got a potential weak spot, which is generally going to be at your knot. So quite frequently, a slack lining hook setter is breaking off way more than any other angler. So that is something you don't need to do. Then you're also running the risk of overloading your rod and blowing your rod open. And that was one of the things that happened in the video that I watched, where the angler showed a bunch of hook sets and he's shooting 12 inches out of the water, and then he blows his rod up and it breaks. And it's like, that was totally uncalled for. That is 100% user error. That is not a defect in your rod. That is the fact that you're putting way too heavy of a load on that rod, and therefore you're blowing it open. Just ridiculous, in my opinion, because it's costing you so many issues. Just the fact that you want to go out there and set the hook as hard as you can is not helping you as an angler. I assure you of that. The only time a slackline hook set can be potentially beneficial, in my opinion, is if you're fishing a hollow belly frog. And that's basically comes down to the fact that the frog is fully collapsible, so it doesn't blow the mouth open, and you have two big hooks that you're trying to drive into that fish. Today's video is brought to you by the Deep Dive app, which will help you select the best fishing places in the lake with features like the lake level, the current flow, the top baits tool, which will help you select the best baits for certain locations throughout the lake. Whether that's a clear water, stained water, dirty water, it'll choose the best bait for that location, provide you with all the information like what structure, what retrieve, different reel, all of the information that you need to catch the fish. This is in the app. The cool part about this app, though, is it's not just based on areas. It does provide you with specific tournament winning data that has been collected to help you figure out your best choices for baits and locations for whatever region of the lake it is that you want to fish. On top of that, not only does the app provide you with best locations, it gives you water clarity as well. So maybe you're on a lake like Lake Eufaula, where there is a bunch of different water clarity located throughout the entire lake. This will help you identify the clearest portions as well as the dirtiest portions of the lake. Plus, the Deep Dive app has now added the wind effect map, which is going to take all of the different wind conditions for the past couple of days and show you what banks on the lake are being hit the hardest. They also have inflow points that show you different places throughout the lake where your water is being flushed into the lake through different ditches and creeks and rivers, providing you with high percentage places to fish and letting you know what parts of the lake are going to be the best areas after a rain. Check out the Deep Dive app to help you become a better angler. So generally speaking, like a slackline hook set, absolute no-go in my opinion. Potentially from a frog fishing standpoint, you can get away with it, but I still don't think it's your best option by any means. Uh, if you're talking about fishing exposed hooks, so maybe a swim bait, maybe it's a Ned rig, maybe it's a drop shot, any of the exposed hook baits or your treble hook baits like crankbaits and jerk baits, the hooks are so sharp these days. All you have to do is reel into them, put weight on them, put leverage on them. And at that point, the hooks are going to hold in that fish. You do not want to blow big holes in that fish's mouth because the bigger the hole is, the better the chances that hook can actually back out. So don't think you got to hit them hard. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when I watch people fish. You just got to reel down into them. That is all you need to do in order to get those hooks to penetrate into the fish. So from that standpoint, guys, I'm telling you, you will catch more fish, you will break off less, and you will be easier on your equipment if you stop slacklining hook set, reel down into them, use your leverage, put some weight on them, and you'll find that you land more fish. It is a big mistake that a lot of anglers make. Hopefully this was helpful. If it was, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Stay tuned, new video coming out tomorrow.